Welcome to Back to Basics, a podcast where we return to the wisdom that has been with us from the very beginning. In a culture that's drifting further from the truth, we're finding our footing again in faith, family, and the timeless ideals that lead to true physical, spiritual, and emotional health. Join us weekly as we explore candid conversations with leading health industry experts, thought leaders, and healers as we get back to the basic values that make for a healthier world. I'm Anna Montanaro, your host, and you're listening to Back to Basics. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of Back to Basics. This week, we have Elizabeth Metzger on of Primal Roots Fertility. We are talking all things dietetics and lifestyle when it comes to preconception between babies, whether it's your first baby, your second, your third, whatever. Priming your body to have a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby is the topic of today's show. We talk about PCOS, we talk about blood sugar, we talk about raw milk, we talk about vaccines, we talk about hormones, we talk about every single thing that you would want to hear on this topic. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I will put all of Elizabeth's information in the show notes so that you can follow her, reach out to her if you want to work with her. She has a wealth of knowledge, and I know you guys will enjoy her as much as I do. Elizabeth, welcome to Back to Basics. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on the show. This is a topic that I don't think we could talk about enough, right? Because there's so many women who, maybe they're in preconception era for their first child, in which case this is a whole new world, but the time between children, as you know, matters so much as well. So we'll dive into all of that. But I want to talk to you first about timeline, right? Mm-hmm. When is the right time for a woman to start preparing for conception? Is it a year in advance or is it 6 months in advance? What does that look like?
So this might be in the extreme end, but because I'm in this field, I am very aware of my daughter's fertility, and they are 5 and 3.5. But I think that is really important, and women have to know that what they're doing pre-conception is going to impact their daughter. So for someone like me, I have PCOS. The chances of my daughters having PCOS or having some small or even big cyclical problem is scientifically on the higher end. So I'm paying attention at a very young age, and I feel like there is a ton of normalcy around young girls like 8 or 9 years old getting their periods now. And that is definitely not.
It's insane.
It is so not normal. And I mean, it's just taken the innocence away of being a young girl, right? So I think that's food for thought. I think women should keep that in mind, especially if we're having daughters. And we want to protect male fertility, of course, because that's also on a decline. So we can't forget our male counterparts. But in adulthood, I think that the bare minimum is 3 to 6 months. In my opinion, that is the absolute bare minimum. If you are more type A and you are a planner, give yourself at least 6 months to a year. And a year might seem like a long time, but if you are somebody who is coming out of your party phase or your very stressful first couple years in your career, or you're just graduating college, you're probably not metabolically healthy, right? We're probably running on stress. We're probably getting inconsistent sleep, definitely not getting at least 7 hours of sleep consistently. We're probably running on fast food, happy hours, and all of these things that are going to impact our egg quality. So why I say the bare minimum for 3 months is because it takes 90 days for our egg health to improve. And when you ovulate, those eggs are from 90 days ago, right? That's how long it takes them to mature. So that's why I say the bare minimum is 90 days. But in a perfect world, I would say 6 months to a year.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer. I think that a lot of women are wising up to their fertility in general, but also the fact that we have such bearing on the health of our children from before they are even a thought in our mind, which is both a beautiful thing, but also something that can be stressful, right?
Yes.
Because every decision we make matters. And that the balance between, okay, I want to make decisions that are good for my fertility, good for my future child's health, but
Mhm.
also not sacrifice my ability to live my life. I
Correct.
think there's a delicate balance.
Yes.
Um, what do you think are the most important things when it comes to preparing for conception? If you could distill it down to like three things: diet, lifestyle, what does that look like in your perspective?
So if I was going to tell somebody, if they just came up to me off the street and they said, I want to improve my fertility in the next X amount of months, what should I do? The very first thing is get a water filter. I don't think that you have to go and spend $1,000 on a water filter,
Yeah.
but I do think that your basic Brita is not enough. And I don't think anybody should drink tap water. And I understand that maybe it comes from a point of privilege. But if you're going out getting Starbucks every morning or getting your eyelashes done or dyeing your hair, I know that you have enough money to get a $300 water filter. It's just not a
Amen.
fee, right?
Yep.
So number one would be filter your water. Number two would be to pay attention to your blood sugar. I would say 95% of Americans have problems managing their blood sugar and they don't even know about it. And we only know about it when there's a problem. And why are we doing that to ourselves when there's so much knowledge out there and there's so many things that we can do before things become a problem. So I think managing blood sugar is going to be the second one. And the third one is going to be, and again, people aren't going to like this answer, but I have to stay true to myself, is you need to grow your relationship with God, because
Amen.
you face infertility, it is such a heavy cross to bear. You will not make it if you're going through it alone. And you might be in a circle filled with women that get pregnant the first time, that think going through infertility is just going on another vacation or just relaxing or just having a date night and a glass of wine. And it's so much more than that. And I think that in my experience, my struggle through infertility became a lot lighter when I sat down and said, I am so angry at you, God. This isn't fair. Why are you doing this to us? What can I do to change my path and change my course? But you're never alone. When you have that strong foundational faith, you are never alone. And then it doesn't matter if your friends don't understand it, because God understands it. And it just doesn't, it takes, in my experience, the anger and sometimes those nasty feelings that we don't want to be feeling. We don't want to be jealous for our friend who announced their pregnancy, right?
Right.
And be happy for them and sad for ourselves at the same time. But all of those ugly feelings, I feel like they start to get a lot lighter. But I guess I'll give you a fourth, because I know that there are people that
Please.
have are that don't have a faith, or that they're not interested in that. So from a scientific health standpoint, it would be eating enough. I feel like a lot of women are either chronically overeating or chronically undereating. We want to find that balance of a nutrient dense diet that is sustainable. So that would be the third one, is to make sure that we are eating adequately enough for proper hormone production, to restore our minerals, and to promote healthy sleep and all of those things. So those are the three.
Okay, great. I mean, I love the God one too. So we're going to leave that in there because it is very important. And I think anybody who walks through, whether it be infertility or any other trial in your life, I think walking with the hand of God is, it's only going to benefit all
Right.
of us. But we'll get off our soapbox on that topic for a second. I'm sure we'll go back to it. But I want to go back to blood sugar, because I
Okay.
think a lot of women don't realize the link between blood sugar and egg quality that is very real.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about how stabilizing your blood sugar has either helped you specifically with your fertility or has helped clients that you've worked with?
Sure. So I think when you stabilize your blood sugar, you put your body back into a state of feeling like,
Yeah.
to feeling like, right?
Yes.
And our body is a whole, so to back it up, a lot of women tend to think, or we're even taught in, our high school health, that getting pregnant is just the ovaries. That's all we need to focus on, right? But it's not. It's an entire body system. So, and our blood sugar impacts all of that. So if we are waking up in the morning and we are constantly skipping breakfast, and or constantly having something like a frappuccino or
Right.
like a to-go biscuit, something that's not made from home, we are putting a lot of stress on our system right from the jump. And then we are going to work and we're sitting at a desk all day staring at a blue screen and we forget to eat lunch. And then it's been 4 hours since we've eaten, and then we choose to eat something, and then we kind of feel slumpy or we start to feel very shaky or agitated before meals. All of those things are signs to me and most practitioners, I would say, that you have a problem regulating your blood sugar. And what that does in your body, instead of having waves like this, because your blood sugar is supposed to rise when we eat things, your body blood sugar is going like really,
Yep.
really, really fast. And what that does is that keeps our cortisol spiked and in balance. And then that's also going to have negative impacts on how well our thyroid can produce proper hormones, how well our liver is going to convert certain hormones, and how well progesterone and estrogen are going to stay in balance. And it also impacts our sleep. And
Yeah.
we need adequate sleep. If we are constantly waking up in the middle of the night or constantly tossing and turning, struggling to fall asleep, our melatonin is not going to be produced in an optimal way for us to get restorative sleep. And if you do not get restorative sleep, you are going to have a problem with progesterone. You are going to worsen your PCOS symptoms. You are going to worsen any cyclical problems that you're experiencing. And as far as egg health, because I know that's what you had asked in the beginning, it stresses us out. It is going to decrease our egg health. It's not necessarily going to decrease the quantity of eggs, but it will decrease them. It can change the DNA structure. If you conceive and you have problems balancing your blood sugar on the more extreme end, it can cause fragments in our egg health. So that's why it's very, very important. And it doesn't have to be a huge, large, extravagant change. There's very small changes that people can make, well, women that can make every single day that feel almost pointless, but they're not.
Yeah.
They are leaps and bounds benefiting from you.
So, what would be some examples of things that you would change to be more blood sugar mindful? Like, let's just walk through a day from morning to night. What would that look like for a woman who is being mindful of their blood sugar?
Okay, so I feel like coffee right off the bat gets a really bad rap.
Yeah.
I am definitely someone, I've never really enjoyed coffee until my third son.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, lucky you. I'm like
which,
literally white knuckling it through the day to get no caffeine, but continue.
which is crazy because he is my child who is the best sleeper. But for whatever reason, that third baby came around and I was a coffee person.
Yeah.
So coffee gets a bad rap, and I don't think it should, because I do believe that there are health benefits to coffee. However, we have to use it in the right way. So if you are somebody who likes to wake up and have coffee before an actual meal, let's make it supportive for your body. So let's put some protein in there. Let's put some collagen in there. Let's use full fat dairy. Get rid of the low fat dairy. If you're having dairy, just anything low fat, just like return it or just throw it out, like dump it in the trash.
Yeah.
You want to have low fat dairy. So if you're having coffee first thing in the morning, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to keep your cortisol balance and your blood sugar balance. We want to have the protein and the carbs to slow down that cortisol spike that you can experience. If you're not having coffee in the morning, that's totally fine, but have a breakfast. Don't wake up and not eat for 2.5 hours. You should be not starving in the morning, but you should not be full. You should want to eat. So
Yep.
having breakfast, if you want, I can, give you my recommendation of what a breakfast.
Please. Yes.
So if you're waking up for optimal fertility in the morning, let's crack some eggs, and enough with like the one egg over toast. That's not enough.
Right.
We want, two or three. Ideally, if finances allow, local would be the best option. But if we can't get local, organic pasture raised eggs, and let's cook them in a healthy fat. Let's use things like ghee, tallow, grass-fed butter. Cook those eggs up, slice some avocado, sprinkle some sea salt on it, high quality sea salt. Get yourself a little bowl of full fat cottage cheese or full fat Greek yogurt with some fruit, bee pollen, and local. If you can't get local, wild honey would be the second best option. And
Delicious.
then if you want to have toast, get some sourdough toast and put it on the plate, and you're good to go. And that's your breakfast. And then be very mindful of the timing that you're eating. So then I would not go more than 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours, in my opinion, if you have blood sugar regulation issues, that is the longest I would stretch it. If you are somebody, I know women, they work out of the offices. We have nurses, we have doctors,
Sure.
we have people that cannot necessarily eat every 3 to 4 hours. If you know that you are able to eat in an hour after your breakfast, have something like a high quality protein shake. I am not an advocate for protein shakes always replacing meals, but when it's said and done, having an adequate, healthy protein shake to buy your body some time and to not experience a huge cortisol spike and then crash is going to do yourself a good service. So, I just wanted to put that out there because some people are like, well, I can't, I'm stuck in the OR for 6 hours
Sure.
and I can't eat. Then we're going to move on to lunch. And for lunch, we can keep it simple. We don't have to have extravagant looking meals. Have a grass-fed beef bowl. If we can't get grass-fed, the
My
next
fave.
option is going to be organic beef. Let's have some organic beef. Let's get in some white potatoes with the skins on so we have healthy starches. And then let's add some sauerkraut or kimchi for that good gut bacteria. And then if you wanted to, you could add a side of fruit. I love fruit. So you can put it with really any meal if you want, but that's a very simple meal. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time to whip up some ground beef and some sauerkraut that you already bought from the store to plop it right on top
Yep.
with some white potatoes or sweet potatoes. One of my favorite meals still was that viral beef bowl that was
So
right.
good. And I don't
Cottage
want to
cheese, the
admit it's
hot
good, but
honey.
it's so good. Like
I know.
the sweet potatoes, the cottage cheese, the ground beef. And I mean, talk about something that you can literally meal prep and have
Yes.
all week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can, all of these things you can put sheet pan style and then just keep them in the fridge. And then don't use the microwave to heat up your food. But
Yeah. I agree.
we can do that. Or doing like a huge chuck roast in the beginning of the week and having it. So that's kind of what lunch would look like. And then the same rule follows. If you know that you're not going to be able to eat for a very long time after your lunch, but you do have the short window, again, let's have a healthy snack, but no naked carbs because we don't want that cortisol spike. So we want to have protein to pair and the fat to pair with the carbs so we can slow down how our body absorbs all of that glucose. So if we could get a high quality meat stick and some Parmesan cheese, that would be
Love
great.
it.
That's very easy with some oranges. That's such an easy snack that you can just mindlessly pack and throw in your purse or throw in your backpack, and you're good to go. And then for
Yep.
dinner, let's get some salmon in there. Super easy sheet pan dinner, salmon. We could do rice or another vegetable, asparagus, broccoli.
So easy.
Like super, super easy. Again, sprinkle with some high quality Celtic salt, a little avocado oil or good quality olive oil, and then you're good. And then you're good to go. And then I love a sweet treat at night. So I would be doing something like like a tart cherry juice with my magnesium or a little square of dark chocolate with some cottage cheese and cherries.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then that's it.
Incredible. I mean, I'm starving now, but incredible. I love it. I agree. I think that people don't understand, just to go back to cortisol for a second. A lot of women don't understand the link between high cortisol and low progesterone, excuse
Yeah.
me. So there's an inverse reaction between you have unmanaged high cortisol, which most of us do,
Right.
right? Especially if we're living in a normal world, working a 9 to 5, staring at a screen all day, doing all of the things that produce stress. And then having low progesterone, which is very detrimental to
Mhm.
fertility and something that I'm hearing about so much. I assume you are too, a lot of
Yeah.
women having low progesterone. So with cortisol in mind, this is a really backwards way of getting to, I want to go back to caffeine
Okay.
because you mentioned that coffee is fine if you use it the right way. Should women who are in their preconception era ever be waking up and drinking coffee on an empty stomach?
No,
I agree.
no. I
I
know
agree.
people, they might not. I just got goosebumps on that because I know people aren't going to like it. But um, I think especially I think there's something to be said about, and I just saw a post on it this morning from a different creator, and she's in the thick of it right now. There is fertility privilege. And for
Wait,
the
is that from Illy? She's coming on the
yes,
pod. I love her.
yes.
She's coming on. She's great.
She's in the thick of it right now, and she did say there is fertility privilege, and I could not agree with that more.
Yeah.
So for the women that are going through it, and for the women who are struggling, they understand you will get to a point where you will do whatever, you will try whatever. There's nothing to out there to improve your fertility. And for the women who have gotten pregnant the first time, the second time, or have never experienced infertility, they're like, yeah, okay, I can have coffee on an empty stomach. And it's like, no, you can't. No, no,
Right.
it's not, it's just not good for not even fertility optimization, but optimal health. Why do you want to have blood
Yeah,
sugar crashes all day? Like, I don't want to feel like that. But I
I
just think
agree.
feeling like that is so normalized in our culture because, like you and I have said, we're going to work, we're rushed in traffic, we have to go to our next meeting, we're doing this, we're doing pickups, we're doing workouts, we're doing, all of these things except for just slowing down and
Yeah,
like remembering to breathe. So I do not think women should have coffee on an empty stomach.
I agree with you. I think, there will be women who get pregnant on their first try, like you said. They like literally fall and get pregnant. They're
Yeah.
like, wait, what? Which is wonderful, right? And I'm so happy for those women. But I also think, and this is where you kind of get into the conversation of, is fertility a health marker? I actually don't see it as much of as a health marker as I see having a really healthy pregnancy as a health marker.
A
I think
hundred
that's so
percent.
much more important. Again, I'm happy for women who get pregnant on the first try. To me, that doesn't mean that you are a super healthy individual necessarily.
1000%.
Having a pregnancy where you're not puking all the time, where you're active, where you're wanting to have sex with your husband, where you're, having an actual healthy time, to
Yes.
me is much more impressive. And I think all of the things that we're talking about, whether you have a super easy time getting pregnant or whether you do not, will impact you in a better way during pregnancy and also impact the health of your baby positively. Because, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, what we're doing now is impacting the health of our children.
Mhm.
Our choices are loaded and coded in our daughters and our sons from the time that they are eggs when we are in our mothers, which is like
Right.
such a mind bender.
I know it's crazy.
So crazy. So sorry, I'm like kind of on a rant, but I think the point is like, we really have to think about the fact that like, if you have an easy time getting pregnant or not, these things will be beneficial to you. And even more than that, they will be beneficial to your eggs that are inside of you that are eventually going to be children.
Yeah. And I think it's this you just led a good segue into, just because you got pregnant on the first try, like you said, does not mean that you are in optimal health.
Right.
I do encourage every woman to read, and I will make my children read it one day, the book, The Fifth Vital Sign. I do think
Love.
it's such a good book. It was so informative. I read it years ago, and I think that every teenage woman should read it. But when we do the work prior to conception, because there will always be people who don't believe in it, who don't think that, their perfume matters, or what kind of underwear they're wearing, or, organic is a scam, all of those things. You could get pregnant on the first try, but then don't wonder why your postpartum is so horrible. I
Right.
think, again, in our country, it is so normalized to have postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and it's not normal. It is common, but it's not normal. And all of that can stem from what you did prior to conceiving. Even your labor and delivery, what you do prior to conceiving, it matters. And, we could go talk, I feel like we could talk about that topic specifically for like
Totally.
days. So before we get
Yeah.
too off track from fertility, it it does matter, and the work isn't wasted. Even if you spend 3 months working on your egg quality health, it is going to be beneficial. You should not be puking every morning when you get pregnant. You should not be having horrible food aversions. You should not be super, super tired. I have been told many of times, oh, like, you're so happy when you're pregnant and you wear pregnant so easily, or pregnancy so easily. And I always, say that's how it should be. That's
Exactly.
what happens when we nourish our bodies and we also have respect for our bodies and respect for the process. So well, I just wanted to throw that out there because I do think it's super, super important, and the work is not pointless.
1000%. And again, I think that like before I ever started my preconception journey or even thinking about any of this stuff, I was like, oh, getting pregnant on the first try, that's like the gold standard. I would say
Right.
the gold standard is actually having a healthy pregnancy where you're not high risk, where you're not puking every morning, like you said, where
Mhm.
you feel up to doing the things that you would do in normal life. So we're in total agreement on that. We just did caffeine. I want to talk about fasting
Okay.
because fasting is, dependent on the camp that you're in, either it's a miracle or it's absolutely detrimental to our health. What do you think fasting does for fertility?
I think it shuts it down.
Yeah.
I don't think I think if you're a man, fasting is great. Go for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. My
go
husband
for it.
can fast for like 2 days and he's like, "I feel amazing." I'm like, "I would not feel great at that
Yeah,
point." But
no,
continue.
no, thank you. I think that is one of the things. Well, one, I feel like I know it hasn't been studied enough on the female body. But two, we are trying to optimize our hormones. We're not trying to shut them down. We need
Right.
to stabilize our metabolism. We need to keep our body feeling safe, not in a state of when am I going to be fueled next? When am I going to be nourished next? And I think fasting can be great for a certain time and place. Fertility is not that time and place. I don't recommend and to any of my clients that they fast when we're trying to improve our cycle, when we're trying to improve our hormones, when we're trying to replenish minerals. So that'd be a no for me.
I completely agree with you, but I want to be clear that you're saying that as someone who has PCOS and has had clients that have PCOS. I think that a lot of PCOS women are told, "Oh, you should do intermittent fasting. It's going to help you lose weight and regulate your blood sugar." You think no go.
I think it will help women lose weight very quickly. And then after a while, they're going to wonder why they're plateauing and why they
Yeah.
don't feel any better and why the weight is coming back. So still no go.
Yeah, I completely agree. Cool. Um what does you just mentioned what a diet looks like from a day-to-day perspective or what it should look like if you're being mindful of your blood sugar and trying to improve your fertility. What nutrients specifically do you think that women should be focused on getting in during this time?
Cholesterol, which I feel like gets a very bad rap, but
Let's talk
cholesterol.
about that. Yeah.
Okay, so for for like my parents the other day, they saw that I just slapped some butter on my son's plate, and their
Yeah.
like boomer eyes were rolling, and they were like, "That's full fat butter." I'm like, "Please, just give it to
Stop.
me, okay?"
Yeah.
Um, so why I say cholesterol is because all of the steroid hormones need cholesterol. So if you have a problem with all of your hormones and then you're restricting your cholesterol intake and you're scared of steak and you're scared of healthy fats, you're not doing your body any good. Your body still is like, okay, I need more nourishment. I need more. I need to feel satiated. I need to feel adequate so I can do my job. So cholesterol paves a pathway to adequate progesterone production. So I
Yeah.
know that you mentioned you feel like progesterone, a lot of women are suffering from low progesterone. I think that's because a lot of women are under eating and we're told, well, okay, I understand that you have PCOS and you want to lose weight. So you have to be more restrictive. You have to kick the dairy. You have to kick the gluten, stay away from red meat, stay away from carbs. Those are the enemy. And they're not the enemy. Those are the things that our body needs. For minerals, I think that any woman who has ever been on birth control, no matter how long or short, we need to replenish deep, deep, deep. So choline, we need magnesium, cholesterol, like I said, we need vitamin A, we need vitamin E. All of these things are found in just regular, kind of plain whole foods.
Yeah.
We might, like I said, stub our nose to, like, oh, well, I can't have steak because of cholesterol. No, please eat red meat.
Yep. I completely agree. I think people don't realize the protective effect that cholesterol has on hormones and how important it is. I would go so far as I think we see so many hormonal issues later in life. A lot of women suffering from low progesterone later in life as well, which makes
Yep.
menopause living hell. And I think a lot of
Osteoporosis.
it absolutely osteoporosis, bone density issues. I think a
Mhm.
lot of it stems from the fact that we are told so early on to restrict cholesterol in our
100%.
diets, and it's
Yeah.
so problematic.
Yes. And I feel like, again, this isn't pointless work, right? Yes, I'm in the work of fertility, but I'm also trying to establish a baseline of foundational health that you carry through pregnancy, postpartum, motherhood. And then when you're older, and research is pointing to a lot of people that are having dementia or Alzheimer's, their fat barrier in their brain is essentially non existent. Well, all of
Depleted,
these
yeah.
people were all low fat when they were growing
Yeah.
up because fat
Yep.
was feared, right? And you and I came from, at least I did, came from the Special K era, the
Yeah.
Atkins diet, all of those low fat things, and we need fat. It fuels the brain. And so I would also say fat. I'm not sure if I threw fat in there. I do think fiber is important, but I don't think that it has to be like on the forefront. I just don't think that it necessarily should be forgotten about when we're working with fertility. But definitely, I would say cholesterol is one that people either fear or they just don't think about.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I agree with you on fiber. I think this is a sticky topic for a lot of people because so many women have been told, oh, well, in order to lose weight or be at a healthy weight, you need to eat an adequate amount of fiber. Fiber is going to offset your hunger, it's going to fill
Mhm.
up your stomach. And I think that's fine, but I also think we have put such an emphasis on it for such a long time, and really like haven't gotten that much healthier as a population. And like you were
Yeah,
saying, most women aren't having an issue with eating too much. I mean, some women are, right? Like there definitely is a contingency of people who overeat, but most women are told that they need to restrict long
right.
term. What are you seeing from a clinical perspective when it comes to restriction or chronic restrictions, what it does to our fertility?
It shuts down ovulation. It can
Right.
lead to amenorrhea. So we have women who are going 3 months longer. I was one of them. I went years without a cycle. And it's, I don't want to say it 100% stems from, but it maybe 96%, 90, like
Yeah.
99% stems from chronically under eating or the yo-yo diet of constantly like counting macros, and then stop doing that, and then we are overeating, and then we go back to under eating, and then we're counting our macros again, and then the cycle just repeats. Your body never establishes a baseline. Your body is stuck in fight or flight, and it's just constantly trying to survive without a healthy baseline. So it shuts down ovulation. Well, you can't get pregnant if you're not ovulating.
Right.
And then you're going to fertility clinics and they don't care if you ovulate. They'll just give you medication to force ovulation. And maybe you get pregnant, maybe you don't. And then you're stuck in that cycle. So on the easiest answer and the shortest answer is under eating is going to ruin your cycle. It's not going to help you keep the weight off. It's not going to help optimize your hormone production or anything like that, your liver health, your thyroid health, prolactin levels, none of that. All it's going to do is make things worse for you in the long run.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that a lot of it's very concerning how many women don't have a period. And I know
Mhm.
this because I get DMs about it all the time,
Yeah.
every single week, multiple women. How do I restore my period? First question, are you underweight? A lot of the time, yes. Or are you a yo-yo dieter? Well, yes. And it comes out in the fold that they've experienced this pattern that I think a lot of women are very familiar with
Yeah.
of the yo-yoing or of trying to be too thin or of over-exercising. And from my perspective, I mean, you mentioned the book, The Fifth Vital Sign, which is a lot of it is surrounding this. I do think that having a consistent period is a vital sign for women.
100%.
I'm glad you agree. Gone are the days where ladies slave away ahead of conception only to have their man chowing down on Chick-fil-A and Twinkies while they stare into blue light on a weeknight. This simply won't do. We need to start recognizing that baby making takes two and each party needs to be fully bought in. One team, one dream. And if you're anything like me, getting pregnant is just one part of the equation. I want to have a healthy pregnancy and a super healthy baby. That's why my husband and I are taking the Fig His and Hers bundle. a prenatal for her with more nutrients than any leading prenatal on the market, like the robust 900 milligrams of choline and methylated Bs, of course, and a multivitamin for him that will have him behaving like a conqueror in the best way. All from a faith-based company with values and quality that you can really trust. Whether you're trying to put a bun in the oven or just trying to grow your hair and nails, Fig is for you. You can use code BACKTOBASICS for 10% off your order at figwellness.co. That's code BACKTOBASICS at figwellness.co. Thank you to Fig for sponsoring this episode. So you mentioned that you fixed your amenorrhea and you went
Mhm.
years without a period. How did you do that?
The first thing I did was I stopped being vegan. I feel like this is like, I feel like it's a
Yeah.
common trend.
It's a
All of us were
very
vegan at one
common
point.
trend. Yep, we all were.
All of us were vegan at one point. Um,
Yep.
so, and I went into, so there was a few things that definitely transformed my health. The very first thing that I noticed a red flag, not only in our medical system, but in stress, um, is my mom was diagnosed with cancer and she passed 4 weeks later. It
Ugh,
was breast cancer and it was in 2013. So we were advanced enough where women aren't dying of breast cancer that much anymore, and certainly
right.
not that aggressive. Um, and I say to this day, breast cancer didn't kill her. It was stress. It was her lifestyle. So that was
Yep.
the very first thing that went off. I was like, holy moly. I'm like, like stress just killed my mom. I just watched it happen. I will protect my peace at all costs.
Yeah.
Or at least try my best to protect my peace. And I think people really underestimate what stress can do to our health in the long run.
I think
And
it's the
then
most important thing, not to interrupt you, but
no, no, go
I
ahead.
mean, I had cancer when I was 25
Yeah.
and I was like perfect, and I'm putting that in quotes, in every other health category of my life,
Yeah.
but I was so stressed out and my stress burden was so toxic to me that I was genuinely an unhappy person. And I've seen that with other people that I know who have had cancer, who, and I'm so sorry about your mother, because it's such a real thing where it is stress that eats you alive, especially women, in a
Yes.
different way, where
Right.
I've heard a cancer doctor who I love and follow. Her name is Dr. Keneally. I don't know if you follow her, but I'll put her in the show notes for those who want to. She says that breast cancer specifically and women's cancer specifically, it's always related to unrest in the nest or stress at home, stress in your marriage, stress in yourself. There's
Yeah.
something that is weighing on you that is stressful and that eats you alive. So I completely agree with you, especially from a women's perspective when it comes to a healthy cycle. I think stress is number one, and I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Stress alone, like if even if you're perfect, stress alone it can shut down your cycle. Um, After that happened, I went to the OB and she was like, "Oh, you have HPV." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
wait, you like forced me to get vaccinated for that. Well, how do I have it? And that's what opened my eyes on the other end of the spectrum. We won't talk about that, but that I was like, wait a minute, what? And she's like, yep, this is what I recommend for treatment, blah, blah, blah. I said,
So what
okay,
did she say? I want to do a leap. I want to
yep.
do,
She
yep.
wanted to do a leap. She was talking about, cutting out some of my cervix. And I'm like, what? I want children.
Whoa.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, I want a lot of children. Are like this? Are you positive? So she sent me for some testing. I did a second opinion from a different doctor in the office. She had the same recommendation. And in my mind, I'm like, well, you work for the same practice. That was silly of me. I should have gone to someone like not in the same practice. But I just asked for time. I said, can I please just have, like, I don't know how, I don't know what I asked for. It was a long time ago, but I asked for time. And that is when I became obsessed with health. I was like, there is no way I'm like, I was young. I think I was 20, 19 or
Yeah.
20. I'm like, there's no way I'm having my cervix hacked out of me right now. Like, I know that I want children and I know that I want to keep the integrity of my cervix as much as I possibly can. So all I did was I just started eating healthy. I started eating real foods. And this was at a time where I was still stuck in my
Sure.
partying college phase. So everyone around me didn't understand. You got made fun of. Why are you doing that? Why are you exercising? Why are you doing this? And people just don't get it. You don't get it unless you're the one hurting. Um, So that really lit another red flag into me. And then, of course, the third one was my struggle with infertility and not getting a period. When I came off of birth control, I went close to a year without having anything after the withdrawal bleed. And I was told, well, you're so lucky. Most women don't want a period. And I was like, okay, I didn't really know
That
much.
is insane.
It's such a huge disservice, but um, and then we started wanting to get pregnant. And again, I was pretty naive. So I was like, okay, let's just have sex and I'll just get pregnant. Well, you
Yeah.
and I both know that's not how it happens. So after over a year of no period, not getting pregnant, I got into our fertility clinic, which is local to me. And the only reason I got into them so quickly is because my uncle is a surgeon. So he phoned a friend, and they sat me down and the doctor said, do you want to get pregnant now or do you want to get pregnant in 6 months? I said, that's a weird question. Like I wanted to be on my second kid by now. So I want to be
Yeah.
now.
Yesterday is actually the
Yeah.
right answer. Yeah.
So he was the one who diagnosed me with PCOS. And I remember feeling happy because with a diagnosis, I feel like when we're working with fertility, with a diagnosis, it takes a load off because you're like, okay, that's why I'm not getting pregnant because I have
Exactly.
this. Now I can do all of this research and tailor my lifestyle around this. But I swore to myself that I would never, and during this, I'm sorry to backtrack, but during this journey, my OB had me on rounds of medication. I was doing the Clomid, I was doing the Letrozole, I was
Letrozole.
doing all
Yeah.
of the things. And there was just no talk about, well, are you sleeping? Do you eat enough? Like, are you metabolically healthy? What's your stress load like? So that started getting the wheels turning even more. And then when I finally got pregnant, I looked at my husband and I said, I will never do this again. I
Yeah.
will never put myself through the stress of going to a fertility clinic, having to do all of this, all of the rounds of medication, having to constantly get my blood drawn. I am so young. This should not be happening to me. What is going on? And also, then I was angry that my OB worked for me for now at this point, I was with her from a teenager for years.
She never
And
said
she
anything.
never once told me I had PCOS. And the first red flag was when I was 17 and I was forced to have a period because they put me on birth control to force a period because I wasn't menstruating at 17 years old. And then when I went off the pill, I had it for like 9 months. I was in and out of the hospital because I just constantly was bleeding and constantly losing blood. Like, mom, I
It's
love you,
insane.
but like,
Yes. But like,
how did you not
right.
know that wasn't normal? You just get tossed a Band-Aid pill. Here's more birth control. So we're going to suppress your period. And then we're going to suppress it even more and only give you a withdrawal bleed 4 times a year. So I was all sorts of messed up. Those were, in a long version, the few things in my life that really catapulted my, path to caring about women's fertility and wanting to make sure other women have a place to go where they're heard and where they can go when they don't want to do IVF or IUI without doing anything first.
Yeah. And I think that, first of all, I want to go back to one thing that you said, because you said
Okay.
that you were put on birth control at 17
Yep.
because you weren't having a period. So
Mhm.
they put you on birth control,
Mhm.
but you and I both know, and perhaps the listeners don't know, that when you're put on birth control, that is not a real period.
Correct. That is a withdrawal bleed that people are getting. And I feel like most women don't know that.
They don't. I mean, I had a conversation with a girlfriend 2 weeks ago and she was like, I have my period. I'm like, you're on birth control. And she's like, yeah, I have my period. I'm like, that's not a period. Not to
Right.
sound like a Karen, but like you're not having your period. You're having a withdrawal bleed. So that's the first thing. I think the other thing that I want to say, and this might come off as harsh, but I'm curious what you'll think after walking this path.
Okay.
It is always shocking to me when I meet women who are their OBs steer them towards medication to get them pregnant when they're experiencing infertility without checking every single potential box first. And I mean endometriosis, I mean structural issues, I mean PCOS, I mean every single possible thing. Because if we're talking about getting pregnant, which is something that like our bodies are made to do when they are in their perfect state. We live in a fallen world and we are exposed to toxins every single day, both that we choose and that we both do not choose, that make it harder and harder to be fruitful and multiply, right?
For sure.
But if you're giving a woman medication to get her pregnant, what does that say about how healthy that pregnancy is going to be and eventually how healthy the baby is going to be? I mean, obviously there are tons of healthy kids that come from IVF, that come from IUI, but I'm just curious what your experience was throughout all of that, being like, if my body didn't do this naturally, or if my body wasn't in a place where it felt safe enough to make this happen, what does that say about the things that have been pushed on me over time? Does that question make sense?
Yes. So I think there's maybe two questions in the question, but
Okay, perfect.
I think it's a business.
Yeah.
And sick women make money.
Yeah.
I'm not making my fertility clinic any money. My daughters
No.
probably won't make them any money. I mean, your
Yeah.
children probably won't make them any money.
Right. God willing.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no way that whether you believe in God or not, there's no way Mother Nature designed it to be like this. There's no way God designed this to be like this. And I always feel like we have to preface IVF is great. It takes women from maiden to mother, right? That's our goal. We are not dismissing IVF. We are not dismissing that women sometimes have chromosomal issues or DNA issues where if they truly want to be mothers and they want to birth their own children and they don't want certain things to happen, they have to do IVF. And that's a fine choice. And I hate that we always have to like
Preface
hey,
this.
right?
Yeah.
We're not trying to offend women that do IVF. What I'm trying to offend is the doctor that's looking at women every single day saying there's nothing left to do. Here's IVF. And it's like, sir, I don't even drink 6 cups of water a day. What do you mean there's nothing to do? Like, let's pull it back, right? Let's get back to the basics, pun intended. Yeah. Let's pull it back. Like IVF should not be the first thing on the table. IUI should not be the first thing on the table. But doctors just don't, I don't want to say that they don't care because there are great doctors. And I've had clients come from very, kind of crappy IVF clinics. I've had clients come from great clinics. I've had clients come from, great NAPRO doctors. I've had clients come from really bad NAPRO doctors. But I think that we're doing women a huge disservice by not checking all of the boxes first. And it's because it's a business. And it's also not what they're trained in. It's not what they're trained to do. They are not trained to look at a woman and see the entire picture. They're trained to focus solely on, does the ovary produce an egg? Okay, I have to fix that. I know that I can fix it with medication, so let's go. And I think we know so many women that have very sometimes minor issues and they're given IVF as an option, and it just doesn't make sense. I think it's a huge disservice.
It is a disservice. And I agree with you. There is a monetary component of this because women whose fertility is restored are not beneficial to an IVF clinic long term. Right. They're just not, right? Like if you can get yourself to a place as you did where you never have to use medication again to get pregnant, where you are, having children in a way that is not impeded by the medical system or helped by the medical system whatsoever, your body is doing it naturally, that is not beneficial to an IVF clinic long term. And I agree with you. It is a hard line to walk because we do have to give those disclaimers. But I actually do want to say it's not that I don't support women who truly need IVF doing IVF.
Sure.
I believe that the amount of the population that actually need IVF is like 1%. And we're 100%. Seeing like 30% of women doing it right now. Or not 30%, but at least in my orbit, it's like every other person I know is doing it.
It's a scam.
Yeah.
And I'm not discrediting the journey. I am not lessening the journey. I am not saying that a woman who chose to do IVF is less than.
No.
What I'm saying is first of all, IVF isn't even guaranteed. There's IUI. I've had so many clients say I've done 5 IUIs, and that's a whole nother story. And it's, nothing is working. And we just come to find out, well, you're not ovulating. Of course, your IUI
Right.
is not work because you're not ovulating. Why isn't your clinic checking if you have ovulated before they do the IUI?
Right. Or your husband's sperm are swimming in the
Yeah,
wrong direction and they
yeah,
never even tested them. Like,
right.
that's the thing. And again, I don't want this to turn into just like a dump on IVF and IUI, but I think you and I both agree that like women are being taken advantage of because they're being told after. There's two camps. Some of them are not doing any of the groundwork and they're being told, oh, well, you can just do IVF or IUI.
Right.
There's some women who start to go down the path and they feel like they have checked every box.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, they have not even checked 5 boxes because they've been given bad advice
Yes.
by practitioners who don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And, they've done all the dietary changes. They've done all of the changes to their medicine cabinet and their makeup and their topicals and all of that stuff. But their husband's sperm hasn't even been tested or their progesterone hasn't even been tested. And so it becomes this difficult thing. And I feel for women and I understand where you're at, where you're like, I'm playing whack-a-mole and I don't even know what's going to pop up because I don't even know what I'm looking for. Right.
Right. Yep.
So how did you on your path start to play that game of whack-a-mole and understand what you were looking for? How did you do the research to make yourself your own practitioner?
So the very first thing I did, like I said, was I stopped being vegan.
Yep.
And I really stopped fearing food. And again, circling back to the very beginning of the podcast, is I started growing my relationship with God. And I started not only saying, I need to eat how my grandma ate, because maybe these issues were around, but they weren't as prevalent, and they did not require all of this modern intervention. And yes, modern medicine is great, but what happened to having a cup of tea? What
Yeah.
happened taking an herbal tincture that has been around since the dawn of time, and everyone is so quick to discredit that. And I just started looking around. Everyone wants to give me health advice. You're morbidly obese. My doctor
Right.
was morbidly
Right.
obese. I
Right.
mean, not
Yeah.
even like chunky, morbidly obese. And
Right.
I just remember my eyes going and my brain going, get out of here. This is not for you. This is not your path. Just get out of here. So I just started. The very first thing I did was I read all of the medical medium books front to
Love.
back.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, all right, food can heal. And I believe that. And I think that the mind shift does have to happen. I think when you have a negative mindset, it plays a part, so
Massive.
I just started saying, I'm fertile. Stop telling yourself you're infertile. Start believing that you're fertile. So I just started telling myself that I'm fertile and that my body is a safe place and my body can ovulate. Let's just support it. I stopped working out twice a day. I was no longer concerned about my 6-pack. I was concerned about bleeding every single month. And making sure that I was eating okay and making sure that I was fueling my body in a way that was supportive to my personal needs, not whatever Instagram person I saw.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
and
also, like, I just want to be clear, a lot of those influencers, and I love to follow them too, that have the shredded bodies, that have the shredded 6-pack abs, don't have
sure,
a period.
right. So it's like they're not healthy. They might look
Right.
healthy, but they're not healthy.
Yeah.
I looked really healthy when I was vegan. I was very, very thin. I had the abs. I was so unhealthy.
Yeah.
But again, it's social media and it's highlight reels, and we're just looking on the other screen, and then we want to copy what that person is doing or what that woman is doing because we think that it's going to work for us. So I read all of the medical medium books front to back, and that's when I truly had a mind shift change of food is healing. And then I don't remember why or who, but I'm sure I was influenced by somebody to start eating meat again. I know my brother always made fun of me, and he's like, people have like, you're an idiot, Elizabeth. He's like, people have been eating meat for years and we've never had the problems that we have. Like, there's no way that all of this high cholesterol, for example, all of these cancers are coming from meat. And so it was just little droplets here and there. And then once I started incorporating it in my diet again, I watched my bloating go away. I watched my acne go away. I had horrible acne, not, like I said, just not fearing food and understanding. And again, I mean, we can talk about raw milk, but I think raw milk did my body wonders.
That was going to be my next question. So perfect.
Okay, so
What do
segue
you,
into this.
yeah. So what do you think about raw milk? Because there's so much controversy around this when it comes to preconception, when it comes to pregnancy. The hater is going to hate, but like you have a higher chance of getting sick from raw fruits and vegetables. The people who say, well, the benefits of raw milk don't outweigh the potential costs are people who have never consistently drank raw milk, because I can tell you the benefits are abound. What are your thoughts?
I think that this is a topic where the more you know. This is a topic where you have to advocate for yourself and do your own research and not just trust whatever you see on the internet. And I have always told my clients, don't blindly trust me. Yes, I am an expert at what I do and I'm very good at what I do, but I am human and I might, I'm not that not that I'm going to make a mistake, but I might miss something. I might, miss a mark on something. So when it comes to raw milk, I think there's a lot of fear around it, but again, follow the dollar sign. Okay. Man realized that they could make money on pasteurizing milk. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. From a nutrient standpoint, raw milk, in my opinion, is a superfood. If you are going to sit here and honestly try to tell me that kale is a superfood, God bless, our conversation is done. You go enjoy your kale smoothie. I'm going to go have some raw milk. Right. I think raw milk, I know raw milk is bioavailable. That is a very big piece of the puzzle. And what does bioavailable mean if we don't know that? That means all of the nutrients that are in the product that you are consuming are in perfect ratio. It doesn't have to be altered. It doesn't have to be changed. It means your body is going to ingest it and know exactly what to do with it. It's not going to have a hard time knowing what to do with it and how to digest it and how to absorb it. And your body is not going to reject it. And I think, I know that a lot of people, again, with raw milk, fear it. Why are we fearing it? Because of bad farming practices. At its essence, raw milk is not inherently dangerous. There are good enzymes and bad enzymes in raw milk. The good enzymes control the bad enzymes so we don't get sick. Okay, well, what about the mom who got sick? Or what about, sadly, the infant that passed away from listeria or from all of the E. coli or salmonella or anything? That comes from bad farming practices. If you can get your hands on raw milk from a local farmer where you can actually step foot on the farm. If a farmer doesn't let you go on their farm, don't buy anything from them. Don't even buy an egg from them. If a farmer opens the door and says, come on in, let's go look at the cows. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh, your kid wants to milk a cow? I trust them. If you can see where your food is coming from, that is probably not bad. Well, I can assure it's probably not bad farming practices. So if you can find a local source with good farming practices where you are going either in a CSA to get the milk the same day that it came from the cow, and then you're going to back and put it in the fridge, I think it is a superfood. It is absolutely healing. I don't think that we have to be afraid of raw milk. I think that we have to be afraid of big business. And
I agree. Amen.
Right?
I have 2 follow-up questions to that.
Yeah.
The first question is, did you drink raw milk while you're pregnant?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
Of course I did.
And people are like, well, not same, but like I will drink it while I'm pregnant. And I don't have any fear around it, again, because I know the person that I'm getting it from. And I also know that raw milk dairies who sell their raw milk, whether it's in a CSA or commercially, they have very high standards for cleanliness.
They have
most of the time.
Yes.
Yes. Correct. Way more
yeah.
than a factory farm that is, like, by the way, selling you milk in Whole Foods, which you can also get sick from. You can also get sick from deli meat, which we've seen people die from listeria from deli meat within the past couple of years. We've seen people die from E. coli from vegetables. You know, it's like, but nobody there is risk
about that.
Correct. There is risk no matter what you're putting in your mouth. The fear around it is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen, to the point where, like, Elizabeth, when I can post like the most obscene, like, anti-vax take. Like people are more pressed about raw milk than
I
vaccines, which is
know.
wild.
I know. It's crazy. And I think, again, I think it comes from a place of we don't know what we don't know. People do
Yeah.
take the time to be self-informed, and and in our culture, we have been trained, especially as women, I feel like we have been trained to just trust the man or woman in the white coat.
Yeah.
And our society is sick. Our society is one of the sickest nations, and it shouldn't be like that. We should be the healthiest nation, or we should be a leading healthy nation, and we're not.
When you have consumed raw milk, when you buy it, what is it that you're looking for from a farmer that makes you feel comfortable to buy the milk?
How often they test it. So my farmer specifically tests her milk 3 times before she sends it to our CSA location for pickup. She will test it right when they milk it from the cow, and then after they put it in the jars that she sends to us, and then one more time right before she loads it into the truck that brings it to us. If your farmer is not testing your milk at least once, I would not buy it from them. If your farmer does not, like I said in the beginning, does not let you come onto the farm or doesn't even invite you to come onto the farm, that would be a red flag to me. And then when you get to the farm, the cleanliness of the farm, is it super, super overcrowded? Are the cows outdoors a lot? Are they stuck inside? Things like that. And then when you get the milk, I think it's also important to remember that people go, oh, it's going to go bad. It's going to go bad. Well, keep it in your fridge for 2 weeks. And then you either like the taste or you don't like the taste. And if you don't like the taste, you can make some yogurt, some cottage cheese, and some butter. Isn't it amazing how God has designed these things to sustain us?
Yeah.
I
Because
think,
what you're saying is that raw milk doesn't go bad, it just sours.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think just to, get the comment section going, I pumped some milk, and I keep my milk in mason jars because plastic is a no. So I keep my frozen pumped milk in a mason jar, and I stuck it in the fridge for my husband. And it was a really busy dinner time, and we have 2 toddlers running around the house. My husband grabbed the jar of raw milk and gave it to my son. And then when I came home, he's like, I have to tell you something. Okay. Because I'm really sorry, but I gave Angelo raw milk. I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Like totally, I'm not worried about it, like in the
Yeah.
slightest at all.
Yeah.
Um, and I do want to say, while we're just talking about dairy, yes, it is a superfood. And if you are not comfortable drinking raw milk, or if it's not easily accessible, like don't put yourself out, don't go driving to a farm 3 hours away to
Right. I
get raw
agree.
milk. Go to the store. If you can, again, if finances allow, buy the best quality that your store offers. And if you are someone who has PCOS, or if you are a woman who cannot tolerate milk, the chances of you being like lactose intolerant truly is very slim. You probably have a gut problem, or you are not responding well to the growth hormones that are used in conventional milk. If you are PCOS and you have been told to go dairy free and you went dairy free and you felt better, circling back, you can probably tolerate raw dairy. What you can't tolerate is the hormone that's used in the dairy, in the conventional dairy, because it's competing with the androgens that you already have high levels of in your system. So the growth hormones used in conventional dairy can worsen our androgens. So that's why sometimes people with PCOS are told to go dairy free, and that's why it works.
Wow, that's so interesting. I had no idea that that was the case. So,
Yeah.
what you're saying is that growth hormone that is injected into conventional dairy
Mhm.
cows compete when people with PCOS drink that, it competes with the androgen in the woman that's drinking it, and that's what makes her feel like doo doo.
Yes. So it's RBHT.
RBST.
Yes. That growth hormone specifically can make women with PCOS that also have high androgens, it will make us feel worse. It will make us feel the constipation or the diarrhea or the bloatedness, the hormonal acne that we're getting. And that is why people are told to go dairy free, and that's why it works. But that's not a dairy problem. That's a man-made problem.
Yeah, absolutely. How important is it to eat organic in your opinion?
So I think again, this is where we have to. It's very individualized. I'm always aware of people's finances,
Of
um,
course.
but if you are somebody who is prioritizing your food, if you can get local food first over organic. And why am I saying that? Because it's usually in season, it's the
Yep.
freshest. Like if you're going to, summers where I live, in the summers, we go to the market every single Saturday, and that's where we're getting our meat. That's where we're getting our fruit and veggies because it's in season and it's very ripe. It was just picked. And so if you can, I would do local first. And then the next phase, if you can't get local, is yes, to buy organic when you can. Organic is not a scam. And I am so sick of having to defend this argument.
Yeah.
Organic is not perfect. It's lessening your toxin load. Yes, there are approved pesticides and herbicides that are used in organic farming. The law, which I know not everyone follows the law, but the law and the regulations are that those pesticides cannot be endocrine disruptors, for a lack of better words, but that's like that in a nutshell. So buying organic, do you have to go spend $11 on pasture raised eggs? No, because I think sometimes that's a marketing scam, unless you know
It
for
is.
sure. And the farm is showing you that their eggs are, or their chickens are truly pasture raised. I think you're just paying for it to be on the carton. That's when I would opt for just organic eggs. What we're doing is we're ensuring, or we're paying for the animal to be fed an organic diet. Like chickens shouldn't be fed a vegetarian diet.
Yep.
When it comes to meat, we are avoiding those growth hormones. We are avoiding, in some farming practices, we are avoiding all of those vaccines because we are what we eat. If a cow is getting injected with all of these vaccines and all of these hormones, we are eating that. It doesn't get recycled out. So I do think that your focus should be on eating organic when you can. USDA organic is even a step above just regular organic. But I do think that there's something to be said about the nutrient density of local fresh foods.
I completely agree with you. I think local over organic any day of the week. And actually, when all the Vital Farms stuff went down and everyone was like freaking out because Vital Farms was, you know, feeding their chickens tons of corn and soy, which I feel like people in the health space knew that for a long time, being like, this is obvious. Like, who in their right mind is spending $14.99 on a carton of eggs? Like,
I
that's
don't know. Not
crazy. Whether
me.
it's eight, no, me neither. But the point is someone messaged me and said, you can actually go on Facebook Marketplace and search local eggs.
Mhm.
And most people who have chickens are selling their eggs for like $3 or $5 a carton. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're necessarily pasture raised organic chickens, but these are local chickens that are not living in a factory farm,
Yeah.
that are, maybe they're being fed some corn and soy, but that's probably supplemental corn and soy, not
Mhm.
just like constant chicken feed thrown in their face.
Right.
So that's a really hot tip for people who want to eat locally, who are not impressed about the options at the grocery store, which is the bucket that I'm in, to be honest. I have been unfortunately very turned off from like Whole Foods post Bezos is shocking. A lot of these grocery stores that used to be super crunchy, the quality has just really gone
Yeah,
downhill.
for
So
sure.
I think farmers market, Facebook marketplace are both great options.
Yeah. And I feel like you said, everybody, especially nowadays, I really feel like since COVID, everyone that was able to, like, everybody knows somebody that has a chicken, and the chance
Yes.
of that person having excess eggs and wanting to get rid of them are quite high. If you drive, where I live, if you drive 20 minutes in either direction, like I'm central, if you drive 20 minutes in either direction, you are going to land on some country road, and every single person is selling something on their farm stand, and every single person wants you to have their stuff.
Yeah.
So I rather spend my Saturday morning going from, you know, the farmer's market to taking a ride with my husband and kids and going and picking random stuff off the farm stands. And it is, it's fresher and it's better, but there's also a taste difference.
There definitely is.
Huge
I
taste
completely agree.
difference.
What do you think seed oils are doing to our collective fertility?
So I know that your dietitian doesn't think seed oils are a problem, but they are a problem. I would say how they're made is very important. Um, it is all about the hexene. It's all about how they are produced in the factory. It's all about the heating level that we have to heat them to extract the oils from. And the problem is that They are inflammatory because the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 isn't correct for our body. I think that if you're going to use seed oils, buy them organically, buy them the kind that has the least ingredients, but I don't think anyone should have seed oils. I don't I don't like them. I don't think that they're a health food. I think they're garbage.
Yeah, I agree. It's so interesting. I was doing a deep dive on like dietitians in general a couple weeks ago because I was like, why is everyone schlepping this same argument that like seed oils are good for you and there's nothing wrong with the baby formula in the United States and all of this stuff. And again, follow the money. A lot of these universities that pump out dietitians are sponsored by pharma or
For
sponsored by
sure.
big food. But I also think the thing that's often missed with seed oils is that it's very depleting to vitamin E, which is so important for
For
fertility for both
fertility.
men and
Mhm.
women. And it's just like free radicals that you're pumping into your body that are creating inflammation.
And then they also cause skin cancer, but that's a
Yeah.
topic.
Yes, yes. I don't mean
Um,
to laugh at that
yeah,
because it's true, but
I
yes.
know, I know.
Okay, if you could give just one piece of advice to all women who are in their preconception or trying to conceive era, what would it be?
You are not broken.
Yeah, full stop.
Full stop.
I love it. I completely
You
agree.
you are not broken, and your body is extremely wise, and it can heal the majority of time without intervention. And of course, there are times where people have hidden endo or they have blocked tubes or they have something structurally wrong. And that is where modern medicine can come in and play a very positive role without having to do IUI, without having to do IVF, and aid in you healing your body. But you're not broken.
Elizabeth, tell the listeners where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can work with you if they're seeking out help with fertility and nutrition.
So if you are looking for me, my website is primalrootsfertility.com. And then my Instagram is primalrootsfertility. I am a one-woman show. I mean, I know I'm not super popular, but I am a one-woman
Oh,
show.
I love it.
So I do answer everything. There's no one, I don't have an assistant. There's no one else answering it. It is me. I always check my DMs, and I always love meeting people and having the conversations with women and trying to guide them in the right way. And my email, you can always send me an email as well. That's primalrootsfertility@gmail.com. So everything is Primal Roots. Very, very easy for people. Very, very cohesive, very easy to find me. Um, and if you find me from this podcast, let me know. And I always, I strive to make sure if a woman needs my help or wants my help, I don't want to be a financial burden.
Yeah.
I think that is something that, I've had clients come to me and they're like, I went to a dietitian or I want to do this, but I cannot afford to give them, $13,000. And I like want to fall off in my chair. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
okay,
No.
well, that's not what we're
Yeah.
doing here. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, so very simple. And I don't want, my goal is never to be a burden. And I am not someone who's going to give you cocktail supplements. We are not taking, 30 supplements a day in the name of fertility and calling it a day. We are doing the work. We are getting down to the foundations. We are getting down to metabolic health. We are getting down to your husband's health. We are really putting in the work and educating ourselves during our time of working together. So you just feel more confident. And I, of course, can never guarantee pregnancies, but I can guarantee healthier cycles. I can guarantee better sleep. I can guarantee a better libido, less heavy bleeding, and things like that. So if you want to do the work, I'm here.
Perfect. I love it. And I know the listeners will as well. You guys, thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please send it to a friend, rate, review, subscribe to the show. It really does mean the world to us. And thank you for listening. We will see you next week for another episode of Back to Basics.